Hey guys, Slimber here, and we're back for another video on Prager fucking you. Uh, I don't even, I just kind of downloaded this one. I haven't got a chance to watch it yet, so my reaction will be pretty live. So, get right into this, shall we?
What kind of future do we have if we destroy our past? Has anyone who has pulled down a statue of Churchill, Lincoln, or Columbus thought to ask themselves this question? I doubt it.
A statue doesn't make our past. I hate this fucking argument from conservatives. We're destroying our past! Like, the fucking history books still exist, jackass. They're just not up on a statue. How many statues of Adolf Hitler have you seen? Did you forget about Adolf Hitler?
The presumption that we can stand in perfect judgment over the lives of historical figures is not merely foolish and unfair, it's dangerous. Consider what the statue destroyers are in effect saying. They are saying that people in history should have known what we know.
See, this argument I sort of agree with, but at the same time, there were plenty of people back then who realized that things like slavery were wrong. There were plenty of people that realized that. You know who the ones that weren't? The assholes who shouldn't get statues, who shouldn't be worshipped.
That's tantamount to saying they should have known the future. This is, of course, absurd.
Known the future? Things like slavery and shit aren't new information that it's wrong. People like George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, towards the end of their life, realized, ugh, this is kind of fucked up. Yet they did fucking nothing about it as slave owners.
Yet more and more people believe it. Why? Simple. It's what they're taught. It is the fruit of an education system that long ago prioritized empathy over facts, that believes the ultimate point of history is not to learn lessons from it, but to judge it from the preordained left-wing conclusions about such ill-defined concepts as social justice, equity, and tolerance. Apart from breeding ignorance, this kind of education invites the student, the child really, to be judge, jury, and executioner over issues that they, and increasingly their teachers, know little or nothing about.
Look, I don't know what type of schools your kids went to, or fucking the other viewers of this Prageru videos kids went to, but it hasn't been that long since I was in school. 2015 was the last time I was in school. And they literally kissed those people's asses. What are you talking about? And here's the thing. It's not like I went to one school. It's not like I went to just one school. I moved like at least every couple months, so I got to see how it was in a lot of different schools in several different states. And they all kissed these people's asses. They didn't say, oh, they didn't tell us that Abraham Lincoln actually didn't oppose slavery at first and just did it for political clout. They didn't tell us. Well, they did tell us that George Washington, started to later oppose slavery. What they didn't tell us is he didn't get rid of his fucking slaves, and his wife didn't get rid of his slaves because they were scared of rebellion. What are you talking about? I hate this. Oh, American and its gods are treated like shit in schools, when that's like the polar opposite. Their asses are kissed. The only reason this propaganda doesn't work in 2021 is because of the fucking internet. Listen, if you were told Christopher Columbus sailed here in 14 whatever the fuck and founded America, he was the first one to come to America in fucking 1980, you really don't have anything to go against that. You don't have this sitting at your fucking fingertips. But in 2021, you know what I do? I go to fucking Google and it's not true. Plenty of historians disagree with that. That's been proven to be false.
Because no one has bothered to teach them the nuance, complexity, and context that is history. It also breeds arrogance. I know things these people did not know, therefore I am better than they were. They have nothing to teach me. In fact, I must teach them. And down comes the statue. A new, better history must take the place of the old one. In America, this impulse has culminated in the 1619 Project, an initiative started by the New York Times and now in schools everywhere, which attempts to make the arrival of the first African slaves into the American colonies the foundational date of the American Republic. 1776, the American Revolution. In the new history, that was just about protecting the founders' slave interests. These men, some of the most remarkable humans to have lived at any time, are to be understood simply by their attitude towards this one issue.
Although I do disagree with the 1916 Project. I've done some research into them after hearing about it a million times from goddamn conservatives. I still think it's better than what we have now, which is, oh, let's kiss their ass and pretend like they were the greatest fucking people on earth, when they really were pretty shit. However, I don't think that's good enough, what they want. I think we should have accurate history. And I know there's things like Thanksgiving and shit where, yeah, you can't just tell the kids, oh, a bunch of Indians were killed by the Pilgrims, and the simple answer of that is, then don't teach them about it when they're kids, instead of lying to them. And here's the thing, when I say kids, I mean little kids. I mean like elementary school. Because otherwise, there's really no fucking point in teaching history in class if you're not going to be accurate and you're just going to leave shit out. Like, for example, in our history class, they left out the entire Reconstruction era after the Civil War because it made certain groups of Southern people look bad. They left that whole thing out. I would argue that's one of the most important parts of history in race relations and why they weren't so great for about 100 years after that. Or even still today, aren't so great, but obviously much fucking better. Perfect example. And kind of builds up why things like the KKK exist. Why black folks were treated so bad through segregation, even though better things were supposed to happen after the Civil War for them. But they skip over the entire period.
The 1619 Project seeks to portray America, the freest, most prosperous nation in world history, as exceptional only in one respect, insofar as being exceptionally bad. This is a purposefully destructive view of history. It is one intended to pull down rather than to build up. A healthy, humane, and in the truest sense liberal mind does not view history as a mere playpen for our moral judgment. It recognizes that people in the past acted on the information they had just as we do today. Sure, it would have been nice if the founders of America had abolished slavery in its constitution. Some, in fact, tried very hard to do so. But had they been unwilling to compromise, there would be no constitution and no United States. All the sacrifices of the Revolution would have been lost, so a compromise balancing the interests of the northern states and the southern states was reached. It would have been nice if the Japanese had surrendered before atom bombs were dropped over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but they didn't. President Truman had to make his decision based on the information he had at the time, that an Allied invasion of the Japanese home island would cost at least 1 million lives, both American and Japanese.
Okay, this is the only example that you've brought up that actually does apply to, yes, they didn't know before. They did testing before, but this was the first time the atomic bomb was used in warfare. I mean, they definitely knew it was going to take a lot of people out, but they didn't know the long-term effects of it. They didn't know a lot about that. And yeah, they did it because, they wanted Japan to surrender faster, which they did. They would have fucking continued on way longer if it weren't for that. That is the only example of what you say applies. Because slavery, there were plenty of people out there that realized slavery was a bad thing.
Of course, the woke mind abhors these subtleties. It knows that it is right, and that everybody before our current age, year zero, should have known better. Anyway, they were all bigots. Why should we give them any benefit of the doubt, let alone admire them or learn from them? Well, maybe because, like everyone else, the great figures of the past did the best they could under the circumstances in which they found themselves. That their efforts largely succeeded is why we are here.
Once again, I don't see where this correlates with statues. You can learn from somebody without looking at a statue. What are you going to learn from the statue, What about the statue is going to teach you more than a fucking history book that has the context and everything about it? What about the statue is going to teach you more, That's because the statue isn't there for history. It's to worship. It's as a memorial. That's why the statues aren't okay.
When someone tried to give Sir Isaac Newton credit for his world-changing discoveries in physics, the great man demurred. He said he was only able to achieve what he did by standing on the shoulders of the giants who went before him. Today's left rejects Newton's humility.
Yeah, and I guarantee Newton didn't go find fucking gravity by going up to a statue and going,
It doesn't believe that we stand on anyone's shoulders. It imagines that if we could only liberate ourselves from the dusty, misguided, and misinformed ideas of the past, then we might see further, fly still higher. This view is wrong. Divorced from our past, we would be utterly lost. We would not rise, but plummet. We would be forced to start again with far less insight, and with far poorer examples as our guides. Ironically, thanks to the statue destroyers, the great figures of the past have never looked greater. I'm Douglas Murray, author of The Madness of Crowds, for Prageru University.
Well, guys, that's the end of it. Leave a dislike. Oh, wait, no, the dislike button doesn't mean shit anymore. God damn it. Fuck you, YouTube. You're erasing our history. I mean, in this case, technically you can't go see how many dislikes I've had on an older video. So technically they actually did kind of erase history. But leave a like. And, yeah, comment that, history is destroyed now. Nobody... Do you remember that Robert E. Lee guy? Ever since they took down that statue, I forgot about that guy. I forgot that guy existed. What did he do again? I don't remember. Anyways, Slimber out.